With the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels, quarterback, LSU.
The Washington Commanders are a team that has struggled over the past few years. They've traded away the talent they had, and really, they've been looking to kickstart this rebuild for quite some time. And in the process, they've of course had to change their name, basically rebrand themselves, and everything else that comes along with that. But in this year's NFL Draft, they had the number 2 pick and selected Jayden Daniels, and that is what I want to talk all about in this video, as well as who else they brought in, and why I think they are finally starting to build something special. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are now on the road to 30k subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so obviously, when it comes to the Commanders, the most exciting thing to talk about is of course last year's Heisman Trophy winner, Jayden Daniels. After having one of the best college seasons we have ever seen from a quarterback, in which he posted 3,812 yards and 40 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions, with a 72.2% completion percentage, and also proved to be a huge threat on the ground, having 1,134 yards and 10 touchdowns in that aspect as well. The Washington Commanders decided to finally go after a franchise QB for the first time in many years. Jayden Daniels will be able to come into a situation where he will be the starting quarterback right away and get the chance to try and bring some excitement to this young football team. He was one of the most exciting players to watch in college last season, and I can't wait to see what he can do for the Commanders in his rookie campaign. Looking at what else the Commanders did in the NFL Draft outside of Jayden Daniels, they had 3 second-round picks and 2 third-rounders, in which they selected many players who will be impact guys for their team this year. Starting with their second-round pick, which was last year's Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Johnny Newton. Newton had 7.5 sacks last year for Illinois, is very athletic for his size, and will likely be a rotational player behind Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. At least for this year, Newton had 7.5 sacks last year for Illinois, is very athletic for his size, and will likely be a rotational player behind Jonathan Allen and Payne. At least for this year, and maybe eventually he can take the starting spot down the line. Next, the Commanders went with a position in which they needed a lot of help at, which is cornerback, and they selected a very physical slot corner from Michigan, Mike Sainristil. The Commanders signed a lot of corners in the offseason, but it was clear they needed a lot of help at this position, so this was a very good pick for them, and he will come in and most likely be the starting slot corner in a struggling Commanders cornerback room. For their final second-round pick, the Commanders took a tight end by the name of Ben Sinnott. The former Kansas State tight end had 676 yards and 6 touchdowns in his final season at K-State, and is a very good blocker as well. He will come in and be the second tight end alongside Zach Ertz, and will be able to fit in with the offense very well and make an impact right away. In the third round, they first took offensive lineman Brandon Coleman from TCU, who is a very versatile offensive lineman, but the more exciting pick was of course former Nebraska quarterback and brother of arguably the best running back in the NFL, Rice University wide receiver Luke McCaffery. He only had 15 catches for just over 100 yards last year at Rice, but what is exciting about him is the athletic upside as well as the size he has at slot receiver, standing at 6'2". McCaffery ran a 4.46 40 time at the combine and has proved in his time at both QB and wide receiver that he is very athletic, and of course he comes from a very athletic background, with not only his brothers but his dad being an NFL receiver as well. All these things together made him worth a third-round pick, and will now give him the chance to come in and potentially be the starting slot receiver and work well with Jayden Daniels and be able to contribute to a Commanders wide receiver room that outside of the top 2 guys are searching for more help to put around their young QB. As far as free agency goes, the Commanders made a few interesting moves that could potentially help them. I believe the most notable signing they made was bringing in former Chargers running back Austin Ekeler to pair alongside Brian Robinson Jr. Ekeler is coming off of a little bit of a down year for the Chargers, in which many people thought he lost a lot of his explosiveness and did not look like the same Ekeler that we had seen in the years prior. However, the Commanders will look to find that Austin Ekeler we saw from 2019 to 22, especially in the years of 21 and 22, in which he scored 20 and 18 touchdowns respectively. He will most likely be the primary back under new offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, who is another notable addition to this team, as he will get a chance to show what he can do as the OC working with this crew. Another addition who has ties to Kingsbury is tight end Zach Ertz. Ertz has not been the same player we once saw and will get the chance to be the starting tight end in this offense and try to get back to the guy he once was, but he's coming off injury and was released from the Cardinals last season. Sticking with the offense, they also brought in Tyler Biadasz to be their starting center, as he has a good veteran presence and will help fill the need at the center position. Then of course on the defensive side, the Commanders made a few big moves, with the biggest one being bringing in former Panthers safety Jeremy Chinn. Chinn has been a very good young safety for a few years in this league, but has missed a lot of games due to injury the past few years, but will now come into a new situation under new head coach Dan Quinn and will be the starting safety and one of the leaders of what could be a very good defensive unit, along with their other new pickup, which is veteran and former Super Bowl champion Bobby Wagner. Wagner has not slowed down one bit and had an amazing year last season and had the 4th most solo tackles in the league with 96, and will definitely be the leader of this defense and bring Super Bowl presence to this team. He will be joined by another notable defensive pickup in Frankie Luvu, who is also from the Panthers as Chinn was. Luvu is coming off 2 very good seasons for the Panthers, having 76 solo tackles and 7 sacks in 2022 and 66 solo tackles and 5.5 sacks in 2023. These two together will make a very good linebacking core for Dan Quinn and help shape up what looks to be a potential top 10 defense, which will now just rely on cornerback play to be great. A few other notable moves include Clennon Farrell, Noah Igbenegani, and Dante Fowler Jr., all former first-round picks who will look to revive their careers on the defensive side under Dan Quinn in Washington. As far as the receiving core around Jayden Daniels goes, we already touched on the new rookie Luke McCaffery, but the guys ahead of him will need to have very good seasons and should be able to do so if Daniels can perform like he is expected to. First, of course, we must talk about scary Terry McLaurin, who's been one of the best wide receivers in the league for the past few years, and it is crazy because he has now put up 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons with very poor QB play. Terry has been very consistent for many years now, and he is a certain wide receiver 1 for almost any team in this league, and will look to now finally benefit from what could be good quarterback play and potentially put up even better seasons than he already has, which could be a very scary sight because he truly is one of the most talented wide receivers the league has to offer, and I can't wait to see what he can do with Daniels. Then there is Jahan Dotson, who has had 2 solid 500-yard seasons with 7 and 4 TDs in those years, and will now look to make a huge jump in year 3 now that Curtis Samuel is no longer there, and he will need to do this for the offense to be successful, and I think he is very capable of doing so, as he has shown with his talent and work ethic. Outside of those 3, the room has Diami Brown and Alamide Zacchaeus, who have proven to be solid receivers in this league and will be able to continue to contribute as likely the wide receiver 4 and 5 in this offense, which can be very explosive if all the guys play well. Like I said, they will need some guys to step up this year outside of Terry McLaurin, and most likely it will need to be Jahan Dotson and rookie Luke McCaffery. With the Commanders, of course, letting go of Antonio Gibson, which was not a surprise to many with how little they used him, that gave them the chance to bring in Austin Ekeler, who will be able to help as not only a runner, but make up for the lack of wide receivers and tight ends in the receiving game, which is something he has been very good at throughout his career for the Chargers, and it's why he puts up so many fantasy points. But then there, of course, is Brian Robinson Jr., who I mentioned earlier, who is not much of a receiving threat, but much more of a runner, having 733 yards and 5 touchdowns last year, after a very good rookie season in which he had 797 and 2 in only 12 games after recovering from a very tragic shooting to the knee. Ekeler and Robinson will complement each other very well in this offense to create a very good running back duo, as they have a guy who can of course catch the ball very well, and then they have a very capable and consistent runner. As for the offensive line who will be blocking for them, they were very good in the run game last year, ranking 9th in the league according to PFF as far as run blocking goes. However, they allowed the highest pressure in the league in pass blocking, which is not good at all, because with Jayden Daniels being a rookie, they will need to be able to protect him, because if not, things could get very ugly for him, and he will be scrambling for his life back there, which we've seen many times is never good for a rookie QB, and could potentially ruin not just his rookie year, but his career. So they will likely be good in the run game, but the Commanders need more from them to protect their rookie QB. So all in all, this should be an exciting year for Commanders fans, and I feel they finally have their franchise QB, and I do believe they are absolutely headed in the right direction after having a very good draft and an even better free agency, bringing in both good young talent as well as good veteran presence to mentor. They will likely improve this year under a very new coaching staff, and I cannot wait to see what they can do. That's really all I got for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, one more thing, follow me on Instagram, because I'm starting to post tons of cool sports content on there every single day. And until next time, I will see you all later.